Creamer Media's Mining Weekly is interviewing Mike Bowley, the MD of Matitech, a water technology startup company incubated by the Platinum Group Metals-linked AP Ventures, a global venture capital initiator. Matitech is leveraging safe drinking water technology on an operational South African mine site for the benefit of host communities. Hi, Mike. It's great to chat to you. What are the future problems and issues relating to potable water treatment affecting not only remote sites, but all water treatment plants?
For us at Matitech, the biggest problems that we are seeing with water treatment and water in South Africa, for drinking water, are the increasing level of pollutants that we see in what we call raw water sources. And these raw water sources can be anything from a river, a dam, and even down to your boreholes that we now, when people in South Africa use quite readily. Groundwater sources, we're seeing pollutants now coming into these groundwater sources, and that for us is extremely difficult to treat as a water treatment industry, and we are having to change how we think about treating water. We're also seeing the standard problems of supply chain constraints. Most of our water treatment plants are remote, so getting the products and the chemistries that we use in water treatment to these sites is extremely difficult with our infrastructure in South Africa. And also what we're finding is new types of pollutants in the water sources. We have the forever chemistries that are spoken about, but we're finding pharmaceuticals, we're finding pesticides, which are extremely difficult to break down from a water treatment perspective.
And how does Matitech address these issues relating to potable water treatment?
We look at applying innovative new technologies to these problems that I've alluded to in the previous question. We've brought in a new technology that's now available called the hydrogen peroxide generator, the HPGen. And the HPGen technology provides us the opportunity to use hydrogen peroxide in water treatment safely, easily, because the peroxide is now manufactured on site rather than having to ship it in, which in itself had a bit of a hazard with hydrogen peroxide because it had to be transported at extremely high concentrations, which then had to be decanted or watered down for it to be actually used in water treatments. But the hydrogen peroxide generator manufactures peroxide at site, and we can introduce that ultra pure hydrogen peroxide directly into the water treatment process. Also, because we are producing it on site where there are no needs for what we call additives to the peroxide, so it's an extremely pure form of hydrogen peroxide, which in itself makes it extremely effective in water treatment applications. And that for us, this new technology, we then combine it with existing technologies like UV disinfection. We combine it with ozone treatments. We can combine it with RO filtration systems. But that ability to treat organic chemistries and organic organisms really sets us apart as any other water treatment facilitator.
And for remote mining sites, what are the benefits of a Matitech water treatment plant?
Martin, the biggest benefit that we see is being able to be decentralized. These remote mining sites really struggle to get chemistries to site that they need in their water treatment processes. And as I said, the HPGen has very few inputs. For us to produce the hydrogen peroxide, we need water, a water source, we need electricity, and we need oxygen from the air. We don't even need to provide oxygen as an input. We take it straight out the atmosphere, and we are then able to manufacture hydrogen peroxide. So we're removing that reliance on a supply chain. The systems that we design are also autonomous. So we remotely monitor the systems as Matitech, and we then are able to adjust them based on the inputs that we receive from the site. And we also create dynamic systems. And what that means is that if the raw water source changes in any level, if it becomes more pollutant in whatever way, we are able to up the dosages by looking at what we are treating. We look at the raw water source and dose accordingly. So our systems are dynamic, and that really helps remote sites. They still need water technicians, skilled water technicians on site, but really we take over that responsibility for mining sites, wherever they are positioned throughout Africa if necessary. We can position one of our systems on site, manufacture it in South Africa, and transport it to these sites wherever they are in Africa.
And is providing constant, reliable, potable water the only benefit that Multi-Tech systems can offer a remote site?
Not at all, Martin. So the HP Gen, the peroxide that we produce, is able to be used in multiple opportunities. We can use this in irrigation water, where we're treating plant pathogens. So if there's a local community that's in the area, or host community, we could treat their irrigation water that they are then using to irrigate their crops. We are able to use the hydrogen peroxide in what we call hard surface disinfection. So if you're thinking now regards hospitality, if you're thinking about clinics, you can take that peroxide and now disinfect areas that you actually want into. You can use it to wash down surfaces. The biggest benefit of this ultra pure is that it is extremely green to the environment. Hydrogen peroxide in its base elements is water and oxygen in its two formats, in its two core elements. Exposing to sunlight, it breaks back down into those base elements of water and oxygen, which is fantastic. If you think about the possibility of a spill or spillage, within hours, the peroxide breaks down into water and oxygen, and you have nothing hazardous re-entering into the environment. So we see multiple opportunities for this peroxide and for our solutions. We even applying this into fisheries, because that oxidation process that I spoke about of creating oxygen, we're then able to oxygenate the water for fish and help fisheries, trout hatcheries, increase the levels of oxygen in their hatcheries. So we really see multi-benefits of this technology. But for us as Multi-Tech, the core focus is on potable water, because there is such a dire need for it in Africa.
Where else can the HP Gen technology be used, and how can the systems benefit these other markets?
The core technology was actually created with irrigation, advanced agricultural systems, hydroponic systems. They're very efficient. Peroxide is extremely efficient in breaking down biofilm, which builds up in irrigation lines, the slime that you find blocking irrigation pipes and blocking irrigation nozzles. So that's one avenue that we could actually use the HP Gen and the peroxide technology. We also then moved into data centers and cooling towers, where you have things like Legionella disease building up in water reticulation systems. So anywhere where water is in a constant loop or stored, you have this problem of buildup of pathogens. And the peroxide that we use then goes into effectively treating and disinfecting the water to remove that threat. The biggest benefit that we also see is that this technology is decentralized and able to really position it wherever there is a need for an oxidation process. You could use this in desulfuring for wastewater, taking the sulfur out of wastewater plants. We can use this in effluent treatments, secondary treatments to effluent plants, and using that peroxide. So it really is multifaceted where we could use this technology.
And tell us about the important link that HP Gen technology has with mining, and in particular, platinum mining and platinum group metals.
So definitely, one of the first sites, and you alluded to in your first question, we positioned one of our solutions on a platinum mine, and it really was the product coming home, and the product coming home is a PGM that we use in the HP Gen technology. The PGM is in the electrochemical stack, which then produces the hydrogen peroxide. So the platinum group metal is now mined in South Africa. We are then using this metal to now treat the water that we are actually providing to the mine, to actually provide the mine potable water, drinking water. So in essence, the PGM has come home, if you will, on this mining site. It was mined on the site. We now have included it in a technology, and we're using this technology to really provide the mine drinking water. But for South Africa, it's a vastly important technology that we could use and increase the use of PGMs globally.
Do you expect platinum group metals linked hydrogen peroxide technology to have a profound water impact in South Africa for many years to come?
Definitely, Martin. The peroxide that the HBGen technology and the PGM element of that provides us the opportunity to treat some of these really hard to break down chemistries. And unfortunately, current technology, with the increasing level of pollutants that we are seeing in our potable or raw water sources, the technology that we're currently using can't be continued to use. We have to find alternatives. Peroxide is that alternative. When we see high levels of organic pollutants in raw water sources, chlorine derivative disinfection byproducts create carcinogenic byproducts, which unfortunately we're seeing it happen in South Africa. There are examples of this, and the peroxide creates the opportunity to remove that chlorine-based technology and use hydrogen peroxide. So it is the future of water treatment, and not just in South Africa, globally. We're seeing research done on it by the EPA in the US. We're seeing in Australia, they're doing research on using hydrogen peroxide in water treatment, and we are driving that force here in South Africa and in Africa as Martitech.
That was Creamer Media's Mining Weekly, speaking to Mike Bowley, the CEO of Martitech, a company supported by AP Ventures, which uses platinum group metal catalyzed hydrogen peroxide to treat water and is currently engaged on a local mine site.